Welcome back to MJT Football. I'm your host, Tony Tucker. I am joined by the Joe Morley on TikTok, and we are going to be talking about his Las Vegas Raiders and their changes, their big victory on Sunday. Before we get into that, if you're new to MJT, please consider hitting the subscribe button. If you're listening to the audio version, come on over to YouTube, MJT Football, subscribe, notification bell. You can join us when we're live and talking football and our favorite things from the weekend. Joe asked me, just a little backstory here. Joe asked me, what do you want to talk about today? And I'm the one who picked to talk about the Raiders because even as a Chargers fan, I think we need to throw them a little bit of love. Tough times, they bounced back, rallied around, and really, as much as I don't like the Raiders, it is fun to watch people celebrate like that and just have the cigars out and really, really feeling themselves. And I called this on the Pick'em show. One, because they were playing the Giants, and two, because you bring in a coach who has the kind of attitude that you need to be up for one game, like one really big game. Now, I will save my thoughts on what's going to happen over the next 3 weeks for this football team for a second, but I want to give the floor to Joe to tell me who's in the building for the game.
Tony, let me just start by putting the hat on again to make the Raiders great. And look, anytime you fire a coach, it's not a good thing. And you and I have had these conversations. But you can tell, like when I showed up to the tailgate on Sunday, you could just tell the difference in the fans. When you walked in the building, you felt a different presence in the Allegiant Stadium. You just felt that the Raiders felt a different way, and it was a relief. Like we actually had a shot. Like we felt like, hey, maybe our offense can do something today. Maybe we'll see something new from it today, and we did. And we saw a little aggressiveness from the Raiders. I felt going into the game, I was like, I was listening to Patrick Graham, and I was like, okay, the Raiders are going to blitz a little bit more this game. Hey, they had some safeties get sacks. They had 8 sacks in the game against the Giants. But then again, like I've been telling Raider fans, like, great win. We needed this. This was the first Raider game in a long time where I actually got to enjoy the fourth quarter without my heart hurting. Like, okay, what's going on? What's going to happen? But there was a lot of holes. Like we went against Tommy DeVito or whatever, who can't throw a ball worth shit. I don't know how he's an NFL quarterback, but he can't throw. 2 games in a row, he's not be able to throw. Raiders did give up over 100 yards rushing, but everything else looked better on top of that. And Josh McDaniels has to be a blind idiot to not see that Aiden O'Connell was way better than Jimmy G. Like now looking at it, Tony, like we've been calling for AOC. We've been talking about AOC since the preseason. And sometimes you go with the veteran, but come on, how did you not see there's a huge difference in them, and the players back AOC more than they pack Jimmy G. And I don't think we're giving enough credit to one player on the Raiders offense, and that's Jacoby Myers, who's making, I think, amazing plays over here. And something that I was talking to our friend Mike about is he doesn't have that number one feeling. Like he's behind DAVANTE and he gets to do his own little thing. And I think it's making him even better than when he was in New England. But Tony, you and I talked about this for 2 years. And you know what my true thoughts on Josh McDaniels. And you were telling me, hey, buy into the Patriot way. I got to go back to like a year ago when we were talking about the Patriot way and how it was a winning way. And I was like, fuck the Patriot way. Well, now I can officially say, Tony, the Patriot way is dead, and it's dead throughout the whole NFL.
Yeah, it's not even good. Like Brian Daboll, who spent, I think, a decade with the Patriots organizations, was able to have a little magic run last year with the Giants. They won a playoff game, but it's not working. It's not working in New England. And I think that one thing that we all need to understand about the Patriot way is that you have to have your best players buying into this idea. And when you can't get them to, and it has to start with the quarterback. Like number one, it has to be the quarterback buys into a sort of militant football only focus. It's not fun unless we win, right? And that kind of is just a standard blanket statement. But like we can't even celebrate or have fun unless we're winning. And if you are a losing team, you don't get to celebrate. It's just focus, work all the time. Even when you win, if you have an overall losing record, you don't really get to enjoy yourself in that Patriot way. But like, you go out there and everything's different. The running game was successful for the first time all year. Maxx Crosby looked like he had some help on the defensive line. Your text message of excitement when Tyree Wilson got half a sack in the game, right? Amik Robertson continues to just defy gravity out there, making plays on these footballs at different points. The team just looked different, and I think that is something that is good for the team, the fans, the organization, and could carry on. I will say this, though, Joe. Next 3 weeks, Jets defense, Aiden O'Connell. I don't know how that's going to shake out for him in that scenario there, right? But again, the Raiders do get to play that Jets offensive line, and we saw them last night. Then they get the Dolphins. That's a tough matchup in Miami.
Coming off a bye.
Chiefs and the Vikings after that. Like, it's a brutal stretch. After the bye, they get the Vikings. You're right.
No. I'm saying they get the Dolphins on a bye week, after a bye week. The Dolphins are on their bye now, and then their Dolphins have 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying. I'm strictly talking about. It doesn't matter when they play the Dolphins, bye, no bye. Like, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Raiders defense.
Yeah.
But this is a 4 or 5 game stretch. We'll see how the Chargers are playing that week after you guys have the Vikings. This is a tough 5 game stretch for Antonio Pierce, and I would say this: if he can win 2 of the next 4, and if he beats the Chiefs, I would say he's not going to have the Bisaccia type run. I can't imagine a world in which he just gets on a run like Bisaccia did. If the team is headed in a direction where they're winning, Joe, they should not let Antonio Pierce just walk out the door. Because what are the other options to look around? If the team and the vibe is high, I can't believe they would make this mistake twice.
Well, and I don't know about you, Tony, but I don't know the last time I saw a head coach come in and talk like this, especially for the Raider Nation. Since Antonio Pierce was named the interim head coach, he's done nothing but lift up not just the team, but the whole fan base that was knocked down and slapped in the face. And he's come out here, and now it's coming out that he was part of the reason that Josh McDaniels was fired because of the story that he told, and McDaniels got pissed off. And it just and did you see him driving to the stadium, Tony, in the car that he drove in, riding in? Like, he's embracing the Raider way, and just, I mean, a lot of people, and then they have the Raiders with attitude, right? It's the new way. And I think one thing that stood out to me from Antonio Pierce, and I think this goes a long way with players, and especially players nowadays, is he said he won't step 1 foot into the locker room. He said the locker room is where the players do their own thing. He goes, but when they come into the classroom, the study room, the film room, they step on the field, I own them. That's me. But I don't care what else. So he's allowing his players to be loose, to not, like Hunter Renfrow said, not walk on eggshells when they're around their coaches. He's playing music at practice. And I think that's what at the end of the day, Tony, and I think people forget about that, is football's fun. Mm-hmm. Football is a game, and we're supposed to have fun. And you're not, you can treat it like a business because they're making big money, but you're supposed to have fun while you're out there and enjoy what you're doing, because at the end of the day, no money can make anybody happy for just because you're getting yelled at every day. And I'm not for that, but I like everything that Antonio Pierce, and you want to, if, like I said, I just want, this is what I'm looking for, Tony. And it's not that he, like you said, he doesn't have to win, because for the Raiders to make the playoffs, realistically, they have to only lose 2 games the rest of the way, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think if we see improvement, we see the team continuing to play like with the excitement that they played last weekend, then yeah, he has a great shot at winning this, at bringing this in. And I think he has a better shot than Bisaccia had at any time of keeping the team that he took to the playoffs. And so I like Antonio Pierce. I like the attitude. I really like that the players picked him. Like, Mark Davis said, "Who do you want as your head coach for the rest of the season?" And all the players picked Antonio Pierce, which I think means a lot for him.
Yeah, so the game is also about entertainment and selling tickets. And if he's embracing it this hard, and Raiders fans feel, you can see in the comments on these videos, they feel like he's one of them when he tells the story about, coming from Compton and loving the Raiders. Like, that's what fans want. That's what can get them to the stadium. That's what can get them flying out to Vegas or driving out to Vegas for games, is like having somebody where you're like, oh yeah, he really does rep the Shield the same way that we do, and we appreciate that. Can that kind of stuff wear off? Absolutely. If you continue to lose, and like, that stuff will go away, but it gives him an opportunity to try and win them over with the X's and O's too. And I think that what you said before is something I want to put a finer point on, because I think in any occupation in life, when you chase something and you excel at it and you've wanted it, you dreamed about it, you had a lot of fun getting there. Just because you play a sport for a living and you get to the highest level does not mean that it should not be fun anymore, because it becomes something that you're being paid millions of dollars for. Like, you should still be finding ways to enjoy that thing that you worked so hard to get there for. And like, I think that so many of these young people, they're like overly consumed because there's so much social media. They all have Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and they're hearing constantly what people are saying about them, that it takes the joy out of it. If you Google your name and 4 million searches come up where this guy's a bum, this guy's a bust, this guy's a guy, whatever, it's like, oh shit, maybe I really am that. And the mental side of things can play a factor, right? Both sides in a matchup have mental things going on. Is your mental side ascending or descending? You always want to find a way to be tricking yourself into it. You want to give yourself even fake motivation. If I was a coach, I'd walk in there all the time and I'd be like, yeah, I was just on the field. You have no idea what these guys are saying about your mom and what they did last. Like, I would just, whatever it took, do it to get these guys going just a little bit more, saying like, what did he say? What's happening? Oh, I'm gonna beat the shit out of the dude who's in front of me for the entire game.
But you gotta. I mean, as a Charger fan, and you're looking over, Tony, you're seeing, like, this was a divided franchise. This was a divided fan base 2 weeks ago. Coming into this game against the Giants, they won the game, and people are going to be like, it was the Giants. It was the Giants. I don't give a damn, because what would be the narrative if Antonio Pierce and the Raiders would have lost to the Giants, right? They'd have been like, oh, it's the players. But and Mike and our friend Mike and I had a conversation. Mike thought Davante Adams, he still thinks Davante Adams won't be a Raider next year. But did you see the locker room after this game, Tony? Like, it looked like they won the goddamn Super Bowl, and I'm for it. Like, you went out there on a short week with a brand new coach, brand new quarterback, brand new GM, and you laid it on the line and you smacked that team around that you were supposed to. Celebrate it, live it up, smoke those cigars, but then get ready for practice, get ready for the next day. Don't let the hype and the partying overdo the work, because you still got to go put in the work for the New York Jets coming in, and that's how the NFL is. Celebrate one day, and then you're back to work the next day.
So to me, Joe, the celebration was less about the win and more about winning without McDaniels. It was getting rid of this thing that they felt was holding them back. Because there's nothing worse when you're training and you're competing for something, and we've all done this at different levels. Yeah. When you get somebody that's supposed to be in your corner and you feel like they're holding you back, and then they're not there anymore, it could be a friendship, it could be whatever. Like, when they get out of your life, you celebrate. You feel free, right? You see this with like friends who go through a divorce. All of a sudden, they're back in the gym. They're feeling ready to go, and like, they're not, held down or feeling just trapped in a situation. It's like, we get to enjoy this. And I think a lot of that celebration we saw was a big middle finger to somebody that they thought was cramping their style. If they go on a 3-game losing streak, is all of this stuff going to be able to be maintained? Because we saw something similar with the Colts last week. The Raiders got lucky and caught a team during this transition that was ripe for a thumping, and they got it.
Okay, but this is what I'm going to say. This is the only thing I get out of this. Even Antonio Pierce has changed it. Even the Raiders PR team has started to get on board and change, and they're going different since Josh McDaniels is gone. More content, greater content. Even if the Raiders don't make the playoffs, and even if Antonio Pierce isn't our coach for the future or whatever it is, this I think has done enough to Mark Davis to hit him in the head, to make him go, I need to hit this next coaching hire and nail this next coaching hire because I haven't done it, and I need to take my time and do it and find the guy that's going to fit my system. Maybe it's not the guy who interviews the best. Maybe it's not the guy who comes in here with the best resume. But find the guy that's going to fit your locker room and fit the Raider way. And people are like, what are the Raider ways? It's the way that's going to come in here and knock you around and do our own thing and make you remember the day that you played the Raiders. We might not get that win, but you're going to fear the Raiders again. And that's you got to bring somebody that embraces your fan base, your team, and not try to emulate somebody else and you got to find your identity. And I think that's what Mark Davis is going to get out of this whole Josh McDaniels mess.
Yeah, they need to find the next person that's going to embrace and rep the brand in a way that's like sort of bullyish, right? Like a little scary and stuff like that. Like it's entertainment. Like you have to lean into being the villain, like lean into having some fun with it. It's like the favorite characters from like the Marvel universe are guys like Deadpool, where it's like, they get to be heroes to some, but to a lot, they're still like kind of bad guys. And I think that's what it is. Like, you don't really want to be like really bad people, but yeah, you want to have a little bit of that where you walk around with stuff like that in front of your kids and your kids just go, oh yeah, we get it. It's just football. It's just entertainment. It's not really how we live life. We shouldn't treat people like this in our day-to-day life. But when we're cheering for football and whatever, like it's just sort of fun. It's like, hey, kick rocks type of an attitude. So,
and we've always been known as that crazy fan base, and it's kind of lost it since we moved to Vegas. But there's still those hardcore fans, and I'm not saying go out there and beat up anybody or anything like that, but go out there and bring that magic back and have that faith in your team and back the Raiders organization. And that's the crazy thing, Tony, is like be there when the team needs you, and not just that's the thing. Like Raider fans have been down for a long time, and anything to bring us back up is going to be a good thing for us. And I'm just going to let you know right now, Tony, like my good friend Fitz always says, Raiders, bitch.
All right, let's end it on that. Raiders, it's going to be interesting couple of weeks to see how high this long this lasts for them. It's going to be, you guys are catching the Jets on kind of a week where they need to get right, and they're looking at the Raiders going, yeah, and the Raiders are looking at them and going, well, the Chargers did that, we could do that too. So it's going to be an interesting Sunday night football game. Which team is more desperate? Which team is ready to get out there and scratch and claw for that win?
Either way, I'm there for it. Raiders all day in my book, and you already know, Tony, I rep the Raiders, win, lose, or tie, and everybody else should as well. And pretty soon you'll be rocking the black and silver.
That's never good. I look too good in powder blue, my brother. It's not going to happen. We appreciate you spending a little time with us here. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. Audio version people, head on over to YouTube so you can join us there. Joe, you want to end with a good old...
You already know.